So how was the first day of school last week?
But first,
I thought
oh
that
yeah,
you were getting like school prep, right?
yeah, it's she's in camp, but a lot of different factors thrown in there as well. So
Hey, but it's all good. So what is the boss doing at camp during the daytime?
depends on the day. Today, ironically, since we're speaking about the sport, she's got soccer today.
Okay.
She has. It's actually really funny. We were playing in the backyard on Sunday, and I have the two nets set up, and um, this is the mind of a 4.5-year-old, but I think it's brilliant. I was defending and she was attacking, but she kept going wide. And my thought was she's trying to draw the defender out wide to then take the defender on and go to the net with an empty net.
Okay.
I wasn't budging.
Hey, no, that's the
I was
thing.
like, I'll give you the space out wide, not a problem.
So did she score on you?
She did, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So was it
Yeah,
was it
she did the whole oh look, there's a spider over there. And then I looked and then she scored.
okay. I didn't know how acute the angle was and if it was a golazo from
No, she does. I don't set up the goals, I guess, in the correct way because she was kind of doing the hockey wraparound a little bit, where she was working like Gretzky behind the net and then
yeah.
wrapping around.
Yeah, that's you got to back up that net up against the wall and turn it
Yeah,
into
against
like
the
a
fence or
you got to turn it into like a New York Arrows game.
something.
It's got to be up against the wall. See if you
Right.
can get her to learn like futsal or indoor soccer. I think
Yeah.
that would be pretty strong.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. Since it's been a couple of weeks, when it came to Leagues Cup, and I guess we'll start the conversation here. How pro Leagues Cup were you at the beginning of the competition? Because I know a lot of folks were, you had some folks that were divided. They're like, Leagues Cup, oh, I know why they're doing it. It's just, I got it. It was a TV program, and I looked at it as an episodic television program that had, a bunch of different characters and a bunch of different plot lines. I understood what it was. But you had a lot of folks who were mad that their Major League Soccer season had this month-long television event that was dropped into the middle of that schedule before we get to the 10-game sprint. How were you in receiving Leagues Cup going in? Were you kind of like, I wish we would just still do MLS? I get it, but where were you on this fence?
No, I liked it. I love the idea in the beginning because I'm all for the Liga MX and MLS budding rivalry, right? And having meaningful games. And you in the past you had like, what was it, Superliga, right? Like what was the real benefit of winning Superliga, right? Like a big shiny trophy. I mean, at least now you've got CONCACAF Cup, can't call it Champions League, CONCACAF Champions Cup berths, in addition to the shiny trophy and a whole boatload of cash. So all for it. Look, like anything else, I think there should be tweaks to it. I don't love the fact that it's all in, well, not just the United States, I guess, because it was in Vancouver as well, right? But not just. It should be there should be games played in Mexico, right? To level out that playing field. And I was, like you're going to, obviously there's a discrepancy in how many teams are in each league, right? Clearly,
Yeah.
For a combination of 47. So, like the MLS versus MLS matches in this just were kind of like vanilla to me. It was all about when a Liga MX team was playing an MLS team. That's where your ears perked up. Also, I had zero interest in two Mexican teams against each other. So, and I think that showed in some of the stadiums as well.
Q2, yeah, Q2, no doubt about it. I want to
Yeah.
say it was the Mazatlan Juarez match at Q2.
Yeah.
You might have had friends and family there, and that for me is a disappointing aspect of all of this.
But I think level out the playing field, similar to Champions Leagues in the past, right? Like, play some of these games in Mexico. If it's a collaborative between the leagues, make it a full collaborative, and have these games there as well.
No, because could you imagine, say, Lionel Messi at the Azteca,
Yeah.
something like that,
Exactly.
where you might have a couple thousand folks show up
A couple.
for that one. How much of it have you watched? Have you been hardcore? Have you, just kind of drifted in and out? Outside of work parameters, like if you got nothing going on and Leagues Cup is there, are you going to go drift over and watch Leagues Cup? Have you been doing that kind of thing, or what is your outside work viewing habits been of Leagues Cup?
Yeah, we were actually. I think the only thing that has stopped me from watching it is we did a little hijack watching on Apple TV. That show I recommend it highly.
Oh, the Idris Elba.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very good, very good.
Okay.
So watch that, but yeah, no, I watched again. If it was an enticing Liga MX MLS matchup, yeah, I was tuning in for sure. Certainly, with the stakes as they were yesterday, watched those matches. I think they was high entertainment, certainly. I think it sets up for a fun final as well. And you know what too, because you've got that Champions Cup berth at place too, the third place match. Like you usually just throw away third place matches, right? Like World Cup, whatever. Like who cares who's in third? No one's gonna remember. But like this has value to it, right? Like you've got to go out and win this game. And I think Philly Monterrey, that's a fun one, man. Like that should be a nice little Philly appetizer for the main course in some in Nashville, right? Little hot chicken action.
Yeah, no, we had Lucas Panzica, half of the play-by-play team for 104.5 in Nashville. He batted leadoff. He was our Ricky Henderson this morning, and we got to catch up with him about that match. But let's work through it chronologically.
Yeah.
And the match in Chester involving Philly and Intermessi CF.
By the way, props to Philly, props to the Union for not, and we spoke about this before, right? About different situations, having the match in Chester, right? Like not going to the link,
Yes.
not getting 65,000 and getting the payday. We're playing it under the Commodore Barry Bridge, baby, with 19,000 folks booing Messi, and love it. It was pure Philly.
Well,
Chester.
No, and when Jim Curtin came out and stylistically in his formation was not his standard self, and then you had that moment 3 minutes in, I think a lot of us were sitting there going, maybe you should have just come in with the girl that to the dance. Because that tilted in a hurry, and
Yeah.
it was not pretty from a Philly perspective.
No, it wasn't, and it's funny, right? I was on the Curtin press conference, the match day -1 press conference, and he talked about. He said, among other things, he said, if we let Messi get the ball at his feet, we failed, right? We're in trouble, and yet what was happening, right? Like he was getting the ball to his feet. That's how he scored. That's how he scored that second goal. Just getting the ball at feet, turning and running at guys after Joseph got crushed, right? So, and then the Busquets thing too is interesting, right? Like, so he was crediting Busquets and how so many of the goals were a byproduct of what Busquets can deliver in terms not only of his direct service, but the pass before the pass, the hockey assist.
Yes.
But still, Miami just tore him apart, right? Like once that third goal, like you still thought maybe at 2-0, you get the first one maybe in the first 10 minutes of the second half, and now it's a fight. But once that third one in, it was lights out, right? So I think huge credit to Miami, because the haters would say, well, they've won all these games at home, and then they got so lucky in Dallas, and they had to get PKs. All right, but now you go to a place that's been a true fortress in Subaru Park, and you blow the doors off one of the better teams in MLS, right? So I think a huge credit goes to Tata and obviously Messi and Busquets and the suddenly world class Robert Taylor as well. So yeah, it's a no one is leaving. No one who watched that match is leaving saying, "Man, they were so lucky again." Like this is ridiculous. Like, no, this is well deserved.
Yeah, no, and Rich Ransom, our resident Philadelphia fan, is in with us this morning in the Twitch pitch, and he goes,
He got the pitchforks out, doesn't he? For
yeah,
Kurt?
yeah,
I know he did earlier.
Yeah, then proceed to give Messi the ball. It's the biggest thing for a lot of folks was staring at I think it was 3 center backs to start.
Yes,
and a lot of us were going, bruh, okay, and that takes a while in a game state to get adjusted to. And if the team that you're playing can find that early gap, can find that early advantage, and they did it 3 minutes in, then you're having to fight, trying to figure out, okay, now we're chasing 3 minutes into a tactical error that Curtin admitted to when he was talking with Katie Witham at the half. But when you look at Inter Miami,
well, just go for a second, go back, John.
Yeah.
I think it's also as you were saying, right? I think when you line up in a different way than you usually do, that's got to have an effect mentally on your guys, right? Like, wait, boss, we can't go out and ball out like we always do. Like, we've got to change for the opposition.
Right.
Listen, it's one thing for Curtin to admit in the press conference, match day -1. Listen, yes, Miami is absolutely going to have more of the ball. He's said that multiple times. It's just not the way that Philly plays. But to go away from, like you said, right, like the girl who brought you there, I think sets a bad precedent before the kickoff.
Yeah.
You're already worried about Messi and Busquets and Alba, like all these big names, right?
It's like boss doesn't trust us to do our job.
Right. Like you'd rather him go, listen, here's how we play. Let them play us instead of let's worry about how they're playing.
And you got to see this. I think the stat that was mentioned by Jake Zivin on the air in their first, was it 20? Is like their first 22 MLS matches or first 21 MLS matches, they've got 21 or 22 goals. It's like one of the and then in Leagues Cup, they've basically exploded. But when you have Messi and Busquets and Jordi Alba and they resurrected Robert Taylor and a drafting Joseph Martinez as a part of all of this. Yeah, when you've got these guys that can do this kind of stuff, not necessarily a surprise. I mean, at times you see how effortless it is, and the copy that was out of South Florida where Messi's having fun. And you're making 40 or 50 million instead of 11 billion by playing in Saudi Arabia in the Saudi Pro, but you can see that it's fun and it's a different environment and a different vibe for him out there. And to see all of this creation and the goal that he scored against Andre Blake, I mean, you're sitting there and it's like, okay, he's 33 out, and he's got that little window.
Yeah.
And Andre Blake, you can kind of see what's going through Andre Blake's mind. Okay. All right, there's Messi. I'm locked in. Yeah, I got my 2 defenders there. He's not going to shoot it, is he? Oh, he is going to shoot it. Oh, that's a hell of a shot. And it goes right past him. I mean,
and especially too with the play ranging towards the left. So now Blake's going to take a couple steps the other way, and then Messi, just like you said, small window. Perfect.
Crazy.
I can't. Listen, I'm among. I didn't know if this was like he's the greatest player, right? But he's still one guy.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if, I mean, he is now. I think I don't know if Busquets was getting enough credit before. That's huge for them to have that combination, certainly. But yeah, I didn't listen. Now you're starting to think, if they can get into the playoffs and what, they're 12 points out with 12 games left.
Right.
12 games. This is kind of a sprint down the stretch now, right? Like, so he's still gonna have. They're still gonna have a lot in the tank.
Well, but you've got schedule compression,
for
and
sure.
you've also got World Cup qualifying in about a month, I think, where you've got 2 games, and for Argentina specifically, where Atlanta loses Almada and Miami loses Messi. One of those matches is in La Paz. And
do they lose him? Is he still playing?
No, I think they're both still a part of the qualification.
No, I just mean, like, I thought I hadn't heard anything. I thought when the World Cup happened, he's like, I'm out. Or unless that was just his last World Cup. Is he?
I think it's his last World Cup. I still think he's part of national team play.
Okay.
And so if he's active in that, then Atlanta loses Almada for a couple of days. Messi goes, and one of those is in La Paz. You've got schedule compression on a bunch of different levels, including Open Cup. So let me posit this. Since we're workshopping the future of Inter Messi CF here in the schedule, you're 2 wins away from winning Open Cup. You are 1 match away from winning Leagues Cup.
By the way, you know who's freaking out about this whole thing that you're workshopping?
Don Garber.
Red Bull fans.
Oh.
Because if you look at they're playing Miami, I think it's the 23rd. And that Open Cup semifinal is the 26th. Right? I think, or do I have it vice versa?
27. Yeah. I think
it's the 23rd, 20.
I think the 27th of September, I think, is the Open Cup final.
I think, yeah, and then the Saturday prior is Red Bull Arena. So they're like, wait a minute, is he playing in this match? What's going to happen?
Yeah,
like, they're already a worrisome bunch, but they're concerned about that a little bit.
Well, and so then as we workshop the schedule and the success rate for Inter Messi CF, you're a win away from Leagues Cup, which puts you into the Sweet 16 in CONCACAF Champions League Hemispheric Extravaganza tournament. Then you're 2 wins away from Open Cup, and the first one there is in Cincinnati, and then you figure out the left-hand side of the bracket, which I think is Houston and Sporting. If, and I will posit this as a question, if you already have 2 crowns in a year by September 27, and you're already in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza tournament, and you're already in the Sweet 16 if you have won Leagues Cup, should you really throw all of your eggs in at that point, having already won 2 tournaments, and Jorge _Mas on the X is like, okay, I'm in the Sweet 16 for the Hemispheric Extravaganza. How much should I invest in chasing after a playoff berth if after September 27 you still have margins and it's not looking likely? Do you kind of pull things back a little bit?
I mean, it depends on, that's...
Do you downshift?
That's 6 weeks away. It depends on what it looks like then.
Yeah.
Are you 3 points below at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Are you 10 points below? Like, it's going to all depend. Are you above the line? Like, where are they at that point? I think is going to depend on how you chase it. But I think if they're close, they're going to chase it. And how crazy could this be, considering where Miami were pre-Messi?
Then you get in as the 9.
No, I was going to say you could potentially have a treble-winning season.
Yeah.
Right? Leagues Cup, Open Cup, MLS Cup.
Yeah. And that would be absolutely insane with and you've got to give all the credit in the world to David Beckham and Chris Henderson for doing the John Thorrington master's class of salary massage and all of that.
2 years really for Henderson, right? Like to turn over the roster that he did with the constraints that there are already already dealing with this previous sanctions, an incredible work of art. Like, that's, if you want to be a sporting director / GM in this league, like, you take that class, you take the Chris Henderson class,
Mhm.
and try to figure out how he somehow managed this.
Blow out almost 24 folks in year one, and then coordinate with David Beckham to bring in and Jorge _Mas, bring in Lionel Messi, and oh, by the way, you can bring in Jordi Alba, and oh, by the way, you can fit in Sergi Busquets, and oh, by the way, you're probably bringing in Luis Suarez in January, and you've got to figure out your DP situation with Gregory, who you're probably going to buy down to an AM, and Leo Campagna, who might be looking for work someplace else. But yeah, to have all of these dudes, to have Messi and friends, to get to where you are, this close to a title, 5 weeks away from another title, and then probably 2 months away from possibly a third, is insane to think about right now.
Yeah, MLS. I don't know. Is that the answer? Just this is MLS, baby.
Yes, that is the answer. So let's go to the other half of the bracket in the nightcap. And I think that you mentioned there were some things that need to be worked on in Leagues Cup, the locations, home matches, those kinds of things, because, Monterrey basically traveled for like 18 straight days before last night's match at Geodas.
And should they have won that match, they would have hosted Miami in the final.
Yeah, and that's like hosted. Yes,
in dry pink.
Yeah, and so that would have been fairly one-sided. You look at VAR and its implementation, and that's something that we got to look at here, because the moments from the last couple of high-profile matches here in Leagues Cup, you're kind of sitting there going, we kind of need to have folks look at this. I mean, in that match, you had the Mukhtar goal pulled off the board, and Hani Mukhtar went on the gram or the IG or whatever the kids call it these days. And he was like, it was one of, and I'm paraphrasing, he said it was one of the worst calls that he'd ever seen. Someone please explain this to me. And then you had the Lucas McNaughton tackle in the box, where you're thinking, okay, if they didn't give the Mukhtar one where Alex Muil is coming in, and I can kind of understand it, but if you don't, I get that too, because it's, obstruction, and is he in the line of sight? Is the keeper already jumping? All those kinds of things. The McNaughton tackle, you're thinking, okay, if the first one didn't happen, this one has to. And you look at it, and it's that the camera angle is right there in front of you. McNaughton is chasing after the ball, and the legs get the leg gets part of the tackle, player goes down. You're thinking, man, that's got to be a penalty, and it's not. I think that you've got the implementation and the personnel attached to VAR, you got to look at that too for the next round of this tournament.
100% agree. And like you see Mukhtar's goal, and there's nothing to me that says that Alex Muil is obstructing there, right? Like, unless, I don't know.
I mean, he's jumping into frame. I mean, and like I said, and this is us going Zapruder and analyzing this.
Like, did he have a lot of garlic bread and like breathed on the goal? Like, is that how he affected the?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if Alex Muil, his head is turned to the right and he's exhaling, and the keeper who is jumping, I mean, and it's like, and the thing that I think you've got to look at is the jumping of the keeper already to the left at the moment that Alex Muil is coming into his periphery. And like I said, we are Zaprudering the daylights out of this moment, but they look at it and they wave a goal off the board, because I guess that's what you're looking at in theory. You're assuming that Muil, like I said, you've got to frame by frame analyze this, but it's like you're assuming that Muil is getting into the keeper's periphery and is obstructing, in air quotes, that particular movement. So that's, I guess, what they're looking at in that moment to wave that one off.
So you see that one come off the board.
Yeah.
And then what, like 5 minutes later, or actually all part of that same sequence, I think you see Schaffelberg come out injured, right? And he's been great for them in this tournament. So you're like, oh my goodness, double whammy, right? For Nashville.
Yep.
Monterrey is going to find a way. And then they don't, right? You had all three of your DPs involved on what would be the winning goal, right? Zimmerman winning the header, Mukhtar making the run, Your boy Sam I Am Surridge scoring the goal. Fantastic stuff there for Nashville, and then Fafa puts the icing on the cake at the end. When Monterrey is pushing numbers forward, trying to get the equalizer. It's similar to what I said about Miami's win at Philly. Really, that should have been a 3-0, right, at least. And then there's no question about Nashville on that one. And you would, yes, they were home, but and I was again part of the Gary Smith match day -1 press conference. They were the underdog in this one, right? Like, they've got a great home record, but this is the best team. Everyone was saying Monterrey in this region. So a terrific and incredible result in what was leading into it the biggest game in the club's history.
And now they're having the biggest game in club history again on the weekend. Let me grab.
Isn't that great, by the way? Like, it's the biggest soccer-specific stadium, right? Yeah. I'm really intrigued about the breakdown of the crowd of that one.
We know what it was like in last night. Like I said, we had Lucas on. He said there was about 28,000. And the mix was about, there was a lot of Nashville fans, but the noise mix was about 50-50.
It was pretty loud.
Yeah, so 28,000 there last night at Geodis to lay things out for this one. So Leagues Cup, we've got Inter Messi at a -103. Your 90-minute draw, and it's changing as we're talking about it. So basically in range at a -103 in the composite. 90-minute draws a +270 on both matchups, Philadelphia, Monterrey, and Nashville and Inter Messi. Nashville at home to win outright is a +239. That's what you're staring at in that one. Union are favored, by the way, at home at a +110. Monterrey is a +206 to win outright in 90 minutes.
And like I said, I would think, too, if this is just a general third-place match just for ish and giggles, I would say nobody's going to care, right? You'll see a whole lot of triple digits out there for Monterrey. Yeah. But again, you want to get into this competition because you want to then get into the Club World Cup. So I think they'll take it seriously as well.
Looking forward to that. What else is going on with you these days with the written word, whether it's at MLS Soccer? Because, hey, we got games this weekend. We're getting back into games, man.
Yeah, we have Hell is Real. We have the Canadian Classique, and we've got the big derby between NYCFC and Minnesota. I don't know. Maybe not that last one, but
just a couple of things. What was the name that they gave the MLS Next Pro version of Hell is Real? Heck is. Oh,
I didn't hear.
They came up with a name for it. Heck is MLS Next Pro. It was like Heck is Possible or something like Heck is Plausible.
Okay.
Heck is Plausible is what they're referring to Crew 2 and FC Cincinnati 2. So you have Hell is Real and Heck is Plausible. We had Heck is Plausible last weekend, I think, in MLS Next Pro.
You had the super old school that not many people care about except for the really hardcore fans. Atlantic Cup with Red Bull and DC. As well. And then I think some interesting ones there as well. I think LA RSL, Seattle, Atlanta, in the sort of, which one of these teams is real.
Yes.
Matchup. Before I bounce, I got to ask, you're in the heart of it there. Which success in Miami is not as well received in Atlanta? Is it Joseph's right now, or is it Tata's?
I think Joseph is still split. I think Tata is more universally, accepted, beloved. I think the percentage is lower, although you still have folks that sit there.
Had he gone from Atlanta to Miami, it would have been different. But he went Mexican national team.
Yeah, he went home, Mexican national team, entered Miami. And so you still have folks on both sides when it comes to Messi, but the percentage of acceptance of success is higher for Tata than it is for Joseph, I think.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure where.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like fans were like okay with Joseph when he was struggling early.
Well, because the Joseph of recency is not the same Joseph that was setting the league on fire. And I think that when you have the anticipation or expectation that he's in Miami, he's been traded away or he's been moved, I guess is the proper term, since he's all property of Major League Soccer, since he was shifted to a club inside the Eastern Conference. I mean, you want to do the player a solid. He was not the same player that he was after 2 knee surgeries. And so it made sense. And right now he is in an offense where he's not really doing a whole lot of running back on defense. I mean, they're defending with 8 or 7.
Yes.
Seriously, they're defending with 7 guys. And, but you're going to let Messi do what Messi wants. And, if Busquets is kind of hanging up a little north, then he's going to do the same thing too. But, Joseph really isn't helping out defensively. It's like, seriously, if you look at that 50-50 shot of the attacking half, or maybe even the attacking or the defensive third, Joseph is nowhere to be found. But then all of a sudden, when they come back in transition, it's like, oh, ding, light switch comes on, and it's like, and then he and Messi and everybody else are running the other way. And so there have been times where Messi has been upset with Joseph in certain situations. And I mean, that's the last thing you want is to be yelled at by Lionel Messi. And you saw Tata substitute Campagna as a part of this. So, when Suarez comes in, allegedly, possibly, probably, maybe, perhaps in January. So, I mean, but I think your percentage of acceptance of success is higher attached to Tata.
Okay. Got it.
So, OSDB Sports, what's going on there? Anything?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
I think actually it's weird, right? Like I did the Eastern Conference grades because of the Leagues Cup break, and then I had to do like a post-mortem on the women's national team. So the Western Conference grades got pushed back. So I believe, I read it, it's written. So I believe that should be this Monday. Unless somehow there's like a Women's World Cup, Leagues Cup, I'm not sure. But that's what I think it should be.
Yes. So we will definitely be keeping an eye on all of that stuff. As always, at Dylan_Butler. Dylan, my friend, thanks for hanging out with us and balancing all of the duties. Oh, what's the mug this morning?
Dad.
There we go. Okay. See? Yes, because he is doing all of these duties simultaneously.
By the way, I was at that, sorry for going on a little stoppage time here.
Yeah.
Was at that big Hip Hop 50 show at Yankee Stadium last Friday.
Yes.
Great stuff, man. Lil Wayne was incredible. T.I. was there. And then it ended. See, like it was funny because I felt so bad for Run DMC. Like they're like the big headline, right? Like they're the guys. But it was just getting later and later, right? Like Nas was there and Lauryn Hill came out, and that was amazing. But like I'm sitting there next to my cousin. I'm like, dude, it's like 1:00 in the morning. Like Run DMC came out maybe like 1:20. And they ended at 2 a.m. We're going down the stairwells at Yankee Stadium to leave, and everyone's bleary-eyed, and then some guy behind me is like, "Let's go Yankees, let's go yeah." The guy next to me is like, "Dude, it is 2 a.m. Let's stop with the Let's Go Yankees. We're not doing that right now."
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I give Red Bulls a lot of credit because the alternate jersey that they came up with to celebrate 50 years of hip hop, that is strong.
Yeah.
I love
it all year.
Yes. Then if I ever have any spare change, I may actually buy that thing. Actually really like it. But as always, Dylan, my friend, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for multitasking and be a part of our Wednesdays. We'll catch up with you next week.
Yeah, buddy.